Anne.
Hi, my precious. How are
It's
you?
a, I'm wonderful. It's a
My
pleasure to
girl.
talk to
Oh,
you.
where do we start? My
Where do we
goodness.
start? Well, I think we start with me having to say that this is one of the most extraordinary performances I've seen out of anybody ever. And all four actors are so unbelievable in this film. It is a master class in acting and also a master class in listening, which I want to talk to you about as well. But maybe I'm biased, but I think your performance in this is the best work you've ever done. I mean, it's truly,
Oh,
I
thank
don't
you.
understand how you continue to push and challenge and stretch your abilities. And it's one of those performances that half of you is inspired and half of you just thinks, well, should I just throw in the towel now? Because
Oh,
I don't know if I can ever do that. So I have to
oh,
say
funny.
that. And I'm not too biased because I'm not the only one who is speaking about your performance like that and the only one who's appreciating it. So I know it's not just because I love and adore you very much. This film, Mass, is extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, I've never
Well,
seen anything like it.
it certainly, from start to finish, was, and I use this word intentionally, profound. And it's, you know how it is when the pieces come together as though it's that feeling. I know protection is the wrong word. Sacred probably is too. But when you realize I'm sorry, there is a full sentence here, but when spirit is so present and that what we are familiar with, actors, well, human beings, let's just say, doesn't matter where, but one of the things that was so extraordinary about this experience was, in addition to the fantastic actors and Fran who wrote and directed it, is I honestly have never felt the presence of or the generosity to that degree of character to actor,
Hmm.
where we've had it, you and I, we've been through it, because we know who we know and the years we've spent. And when things happen that you're just sort of stunned by, happened last season with you directing, of course. Uh, you can imagine all you want what this woman, Linda, was going through. That's what we do, isn't it? We imagine what it's like. What if I were this person in this circumstance? What would I do? Putting it in a basic sense. There's only so far I felt that I could go with her on my own. Not that one is ever on one's own. By that I mean, what attracted me to her was her extraordinary strength. Because when your life shatters in every way you knew, every way that meant anything to you, when this happens, everything she knew and understood about herself is gone. And so you can make a decision to build the walls back up. Again, assume the position of caretaker in the family. Interpret father, son, do the, honey, he doesn't mean it. Can you just go easier on him? It's too tough when you speak to him that way. The loss of that boy, not just the loss of a son, which in itself, being the mother of children, I don't know how you move forward, but that he caused the death of others and changed the lives of families forever.
Hmm.
And lastly, that my son, who I loved more than life itself, was in such despair that he did what he did and he took his own life, and I missed it. Um, Life over. And the thing about Linda that I admired so much is her decision to sit broken and not try to defend, not try to put the walls up, not try to do anything, but let go of all of it.
Hmm.
the marriage couldn't survive. No way. I had no questions, nor did Reed. And to just begin to stand up slowly with nothing but breath.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not being very articulate about it.
No, you're being incredibly articulate.
I admire that about her.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what was the most important thing for you to honor and show about and with Linda? Was it that strength? Was it the openness? What was the thing that you felt, all right, well, I'm going to have to sort of imagine this scenario because it is truly the unimaginable. So I'm going to have to put myself there and I'm going to have to try to imagine it. What was the thing that you felt like, if I do one thing, I want people to know this about her?
Have you ever met someone who carries no expectation for anything from anyone? Mm. She has no expectation of forgiveness, to be understood, to walk out of the room a forgiven human being. And that's the thing, I don't know what the words are, because it's so rare. And there were times in the room, and I knew early on she would step in and take over. Mm. And that's what I meant about generosity. Mm. There was just times in there that I could experience because she allowed it. I'm sorry, I know it sounds crazy, but she took over in the places that I didn't understand. So I learned a lot from her, meaning what it is to sit with profound grief and not fight it. Mm. Not even she doesn't try to recover. She just gave it all up, and that takes so much strength. Mm-hmm. And so when my mind would get very busy in whatever ways the mind does, she is different there. Hmm. And so I found her to be a remarkable person. And you know how it is, because we've done this many times, you and I, actors, we shot everything before and after the room in the first 4 days, which includes the ending when it comes in. And then the last 8 days were around the table in sequence, which was so.
Oh my God! So you shot that last story.
That was the first thing I shot. And that's when I knew I was in safe hands, because I don't know what that is. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know. I didn't. Mm-hmm. I read and sat with it and spent time alone and tried not to leave the room to distract myself, because that's the gift of her. That's another way to put it. She doesn't look for distraction. Mm. She just stays present with whatever is. Mm. I think, she wanted to say something. She wanted to share that. And I'll just never forget that. Just walking in and saying, okay, thank you very much. I'm letting go all of this because she's got it. Mm-hmm. That's, heaven, isn't it? In my opinion. Yeah. For an actor. And then those 3 actors in the room. We got it from each other. And Fran was so good, script so good, and he wasn't in the room when we shot. We don't even remember where camera was. It was just us in a room around the table. Wow. And because we come from theater and we all been around a while, so I like to think of it as having our sea legs, meaning we can stay at the table. You know how it is when you're on stage, you think, get me off. This just is horrifying. You're not going, it's like, no, we're going to stay here because we're going to get through this. You know that very
Wow.
well.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So, I mean, I'm still shocked that you shot that last story before you did the rest of the film. That's absolutely insane. But I do know what you're speaking about when you talk about it's as if something else happens. It's just sort of, there's a transcendent
That's
kind
it.
of thing that can happen, and it doesn't happen all the time, and so you sometimes have to have tools in order
Yeah.
to do it if you're not having that moment. But when it happens, it's a beautiful thing, and it is heavenly. I wanted to ask about those, I guess, you said 8 days that you did around the table. Now, I've worked with you obviously for 4 or 5 years, and I know that you are an extraordinarily fun and lovely and funny presence on set. And I actually had the pleasure of directing you and Reed on set. And I know that you both are absolutely a joy to be around for the whole cast and crew. Now you're sitting there doing this material for 8 days. There's not one moment in this movie that's light. Maybe when he goes and gets the bottle of water, or makes, there's a couple tiny things where you're not in this emotional state, especially as Linda, who is just wide open the whole time. How did you guys come out of it? Did you guys joke? Did you have fun, or were you really just in it all that time?
Okay.
Because I know you, so I'm curious.
Fair to say, I don't know if I've ever laughed hard on the set. But Bernie is absurdly funny. Like he should be arrested.
Yes,
and
it's not right.
We would laugh until to the point of weeping. And
I believe it.
We were like children. And I don't know if it was from release, but between takes, between setups, we would collapse, and I would hide his phone, and I thought I was the funniest thing on earth. Like, what are you looking for? All right, give it to me. And I every moment where I could hide it, and you realize I took it. I was like a 4-year-old. Martha, Jason, we would scream, and then we would know when to gently go back in. I don't know how we would have done it otherwise. Yeah. And and we knew when someone had a day where they had a lot on their platter, just space. Mm-hmm. And Martha loves to say this. She doesn't kid around. She's fantastic. She said, no, we didn't have to be called by our character names. No one was special. I don't think she would have tolerated it. we all just went about our business. We knew what we were doing. We didn't have to talk about why we were there or what's going to take. We knew.
Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to hear that. I suspected as much, having spent enough time with you on set. I know I've seen firsthand in front of my eyes your ability to be laughing, be joking, be talking to a crew member and asking them about their family, and then sort of melt yourself back into the scene. I've seen it happen. I mean, it's a rare ability. I wanted to ask you about the rehearsal process, because I heard you guys only had 2.5 days where you went through the script. And did you feel like that was enough? Did you feel like you wanted more? What was that like, having only 2.5 days?
Perfect. I don't know that I would have said it at the time. I'm a big, I'll admit this to you. I don't think I've ever admitted it to anyone, but as you know, I tell you everything. I'll avoid work up until the last minute. Meaning, I don't want to admit we're actually doing this.
Right. Yeah.
I want to run out of the room 90% of the time. Even though I know it's not going to happen, I just think, oh God. So, we gather together, the 5 of us and the DP. And we're sitting there. We went through text. That's kind of helpful. We all knew what we're talking about. Fran is very collaborative. So whatever would bump, let's say, we'd sort that out. But the biggest thing that happened is that we came to trust one another very quickly. Mm. And the level of intimacy was fast. I mean, intense, and it was quick. Because I don't think Trust My Boy would mind my saying this, but I was very worried about him, teenager. And I was very worried. So I came in and sat down and we started talking, and I just started talking about him. And they were the soul of kindness. They listened and they cared and they talked, and I thought, oh, I'm so grateful to these people. It didn't even occur to me, well, it must have on some level, God knows I'm old enough, that this would serve us, that we would, this connection that we're having, and then people began, we were sharing our personal this and that. So 2.5 days, perfect. Let's take our hand pocket. Let's go home, spend 3 weeks doing what we do, and then we'll join up. And it's one of those experiences where there's no reason in the world it should have worked. You know what I'm saying? The budget, the enormity of the responsibility to the material, the characters, so on and so forth, that we would be able to pull it off. And then it just was, it was protected and sacred. That's all I can say. Plus, it didn't hurt that there's very talented actors, those three, and Fran. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it worked because of the four of you and because of that script, And also, I mean, I have to mention the way that it was shot was, there was no camera. You never saw a camera. I mean, it was just, I was only watching these people, and I never thought, me, who always is thinking about where the camera is, never thought about where the camera was. I mean, it was just, hats off to the DP as well. It was incredible.
I've heard them talk about it, Elisabeth. And they talk about the way this shot and that, and it was this. I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, because I don't understand any of it. But I just remember thinking, that film, our film, you did. Oh, okay. Good to know.
Oh, that's what you were doing back there.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Oh, that's who those men were. Did Linda change a lot from that rehearsal, that 2.5-day rehearsal process? And then I think you had 2 or 3 weeks before you started shooting, right? So you walk away and you go, and like you said, you live your life, and you're now sitting with what you've done. Did she change a lot in those 3 weeks? Was there a metamorphosis that happened?
Well, I remember one experience of knowing, okay, I think we're coming to know each other. I like to think of it as a friendship, if you will, a relationship. I'll tell you about me, you tell me about you. We'll go slow. And I mean, of course, the golden rule, no judgment. We know that, and we'll take it slowly, whatever you like. And there was so I just sat a lot with the silence. As I said, don't get up and clean or change the furniture, my usual thing. Just sit here with this lack of comfort and and being afraid. Can I go find that level of grief, and can I stay there? And there was one time I was in a park. I was just sitting there. I was thinking about my children, and I was thinking about her. And then just something fell in. You know how you feel when something lands. I thought, okay, at least we're connected now. We'll just take it slowly. And honestly, she put herself in the room. I don't know how. I don't know how to speak of it, but she just did. And I don't know if I've ever been more grateful. I mean, I had some of that with you. There have been periods, of course, where you just think, wow, I didn't have my hands on that at all. That came from somewhere, that beautiful spirit of who these people are. And it's coming from everywhere. I find it kind of remarkable. Being the kind of actor who, because I was pre-med for 4 years in college, and the way you survive, I'm not even joking, is that you study to the point of distraction, and then you study again. And you don't go home for vacations because you're going to study that organic chemistry and that chemistry and that physics. So I go to acting school and I think, okay, that's how it works. I'm going to know this character. We're going to know each other in 3 days. I'm going to know the lines in 5 days. And that's how it is. All right, come on, up with it. Can you imagine? I mean, that's like a full stop.
it's also so different from the Anne I know and the Anne that I've worked with, who's so instinctive and so alive. I can't imagine that person.
Thank God for age. Do you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
underrated. It took me forever. It's like, hon, did you think acting's supposed to be about suffering? Did someone tell you that? Let's clear this up right now. Just like
Yeah.
let's just get this under control.
Yeah, you're a very smart woman. That you
I
mentioned.
love you. Oh, that's all I can say.
I love you more than I can
Oh,
possibly express. This is such a pleasure for me. You have no idea. It's a very, like I said, this is a very selfish exercise because I'm right now, I'm an actress who's trying to figure out how to play June again. And
oh,
I'm
I
just
know
trying
the
to,
feeling.
and I'm just trying to get what I
Lydia,
can out of you. So
honey,
it's
what?
very
I don't have anything
selfish.
to teach you. You know it all.
Oh, no,
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 but
no, no.
graciously.
One of the things I love about what you brought to Linda or what she brought to you is that you're so open and there's so much sadness and there's so much grief, and you could have just done that for the whole movie. That would have been fine and it would have been very real and it would have made sense. But what I felt that you brought to her that is very you is hope. That's what made me cry. That's what made me cry in the film, and I'm gonna cry now talking about it. Was I felt hope within this woman, and I felt like she handed that hope to Martha's character, and it was such a gift to give that to her.
Oh, I love that
And
you said that. Thank
you
you.
know,
Thank
that's
you.
anyway. That's what I was getting from it, and it was just so beautiful and so unexpected. I have a very selfish acting question to ask you. I'm going to ask you an actual acting question.
Oh, good.
I was thinking about how so much of this movie is so emotional, right? And then I was thinking, God, we all know there's that day or that afternoon when you're tired and you're just not feeling it and you're can't get there, but you're kind of supposed to be emotional in the scene and it doesn't really work if it's not emotional and all of that. What does Ann Dowd do? What do you do when it's not there? Where do you go? Do you go to the text? Do you go where do you go?
You know what? Um, what the hell's his name? Married to Uta Hagen. He had an acting school, in the village. He was kind
Stanislavski?
of messed up. No, no, sweetheart.
I never
Bergdorf
went to
was his
acting
name.
school. You shouldn't ask me.
Oh, well, I didn't go. I didn't. I took a scene study thing from. He's got a lot of issues, but one thing he said is, if you ever caught someone trying to push for something, like to cry or become whatever it is,
Yeah.
he said, don't push for that. Whatever you do, it will be what's real and
Mm-hmm.
present. Don't want it to be anything but what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's just, I think, reminding myself, whatever you have today is going to be enough.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel under, give that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this conversation, she's going to have moments where she doesn't feel as connected to these human beings. And she doesn't feel she's doing what she hoped she could do for these human beings in the room. Give it to her and get out of your head with it and get out of the judgment. Because there were surely days like that where it's like, you know what, whatever you do, it will at least be in the present without you putting your hands all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Trust, trust life, trust this life.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching once, it was in Law and Order, and this mother was told that her kid was dead, died of a terrible something. And she was as cold as ice about it. And I thought, where in the world did they find her and why? And then I watched her progress through it. And she knocked me straight out of the room because that's how it hit her. And that's what she did with the grief. She just said no to it. And then with time, you can't say no anymore. It was one of the most powerful things I ever saw in my life. And I thought, okay, lesson there. Take your hands off it. Trust yourself. Mm-hmm. Trust what's happening. Doesn't mean I don't know. I don't know how else to do it,
Well, that's why everything you do feel so honest, whatever it is, whether it's grief or anger or walls going up, it feels honest, you know? And I think that's what we're always just trying to do, right? There's no right or wrong thing to do. There's no right or wrong way to play a scene,
Right,
right?
right.
You just the only thing you can do wrong is not be truthful and honest to your character, and that's it. That's the only mistake you can make, right? You know?
Yeah. And even when you do, it's like, okay, all right, sorry about that. Let's take another breath. I don't know, I want it to
Well,
be
that's
fun. Not fun, but
yeah.
joyous. I mean, joyous, I don't mean
Yeah.
that it isn't challenging. Like we go through that. Remember that
Yeah.
scene, hon, where we were trying to, and you were, oh, thank God for you. I think that so often. I didn't understand the scene. It's like, wait a second, there's chunks missing. And also, it's revisionist history we're looking at here. I don't know wait a minute, what? And then we just slowly worked through it, and you were as calm as could be. And then you tossed in some ideas, and suddenly the scene fell in. I was like, what just happened here? What
Well,
just happened?
you happened. I mean, that's, you don't, you know, if you, it's a funny thing because we both were figuring out that scene. We both had, what is this? Why, what? And I,
But my walls were going up, and yours weren't. For
well,
that, Missy, I
thank
was starting
you.
to get like, what? All right, what? I said, come on, and calm down. You never even flinched. I was like, whoa,
Because
whoa.
it's, you know, well, thank you for saying that, but I think as a director, it's not about me. It's just, it's not about your, it's not about you. It's not about your own ego and your own ideas. Your entire job is there to support the actor and to help them find it. So I think that's probably why that happened, is because I don't care. Like, it's not about me, it's about you and finding what you need, you know? I mean, that's what I've learned from directors that I admire, that I've worked with. That was how Jane Campion always was, you know? Speaking of directors, though, talk to me about Fran. So, what a brilliant script. This is his first feature, which is, Jesus, it's so intimidating. How, and I know not the first thing he's ever done, but how was that experience? What was he like to work with?
He was exceptional. He was open, generous, made it seem like he was learning from us, which is very generous. Never pushed, always listened, kept things. If he was panicked, like how the hell could he not be? Time, tick tock, so much to do. I would have, that's probably one of the reasons I could probably not direct. I can't hide that. I would drive everyone mad. He was just, he just understood that he was the parent in the room. And therefore, what everything else just took hold of it. He is an extraordinary person, actor, director, writer.
Wow. Does he do? I'm so glad to hear that. He seems, I've just from the research I've done, like a lovely person, and also extremely invested in the subject matter and the material, and the importance of this story, and being honest about it. And was he the type of director to let you try different things? Did you guys do a lot of takes? What was that process like?
Well, I can tell you, this doesn't apply to you, but handmaids, remember how we used to joke? They'd be like, oh, I don't think you got it from behind the doorknob. This the camera in the doorknob.
We need the fireplace's point of view now.
That's it. Oh, let's see. That would be fun. Remember that? We'd be like, okay, hang me because I can't do this anymore. He didn't overshoot it.
Yeah.
They were long takes. He let us, it's not that he didn't have notes now and then. He did, for sure, every day. But very, very gentle, easy. When we had it, we were moving on.
Mm-hmm.
So there was never that sense of, oh God, what does he want now? He's very special. He's very special.
I'm so
and
glad
we
to
also,
hear that.
we were light dependent, my favorite phrase in the business.
Oh boy.
When the sun goes down, baby, know what I mean?
Oh
Uh,
no. You
oh, it was,
were because you were in a real place.
oh yeah. And so, we were there early enough, but hey, who cares? That sun
Wow.
goes down, night
That
now.
was it. That was
And
it.
then, and I'm a big fan of that. Who isn't? But then we would go to our rooms. They took very good care of us, and then we'd all meet for dinner, and then we'd go to someone's room and prep for the next day. All four of us.
Wow. Wow.
And we'd fight or do whatever we needed to do, and then make up and go home.
Ah, I want to go to that acting school. What an incredible experience. Okay, I'll let you go soon. Just had a couple more little things. My own curiosity. Do you think that Linda has ever told that final story before?
No, and I
No.
don't know that she ever knew she could or would. It was there, deeply deep in her, and always there here. Of I want to tell the story, and somehow I don't know how to put words to it, but because I really don't know how to put words to it, but I think somehow she wanted to tell her story too. That part of it. Uh, it took a lot of courage, I think, to get that out. She was going to leave and not do that. Then she said, "No, I've come back." Like a child almost. Fran may disagree there, but I want to tell a story too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think getting that out of her, that what she thought she could have missed, that she could have done. You hit me as long as you need to. As long as you need to, because then I will know where you are. Mm-hmm. Where you are.
So incredibly generous. And I was talking to somebody about it after I watched it, and I was saying the way that she captured and the way that Fran captured, obviously, in the writing, that mother's instinct, or parental instinct, I could say, that instinct as a parent to take the pain of your child and make it your own. And I've seen it happen, and it's something that is so extraordinary to me and is so admirable to me. And that's what I felt in that moment, that she was willing to take that pain. And I said, I've never seen that before. I've never seen that in a film before. I've never seen that spoken about like that. I thought it was just so beautiful.
Yeah, that writing just floored me. When you think it's over, but somehow it isn't. Mm-hmm. There's something that can happen here. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know if this is intruding on your personal life, but I've seen the closeness you have to your mother and to your brother. It's very extraordinary. It's not, it's something, the depth of it, the core is always was very clear from the second one. And I feel that for my children, you want to take it away from them, the pain. Of course you cannot. They have to sort through it. But the desire to say, no, I want to spare you. The fact that he was bullied in school. I have a special needs oldest boy on the spectrum, the desire to protect. This is the strongest thing you ever know. And then when you miss it, geez.
But I felt, and I know what you mean about my family, I feel the same, my mom would be exactly the same way, and I feel the same way about my brother, that I would take that pain from him, But I felt like the message is a silly thing to say, but what I took from the film was that it was no one's fault, that everyone feels like it is their fault, and it just isn't. And there are no villains, there are no heroes, there are no protagonists. There's just these four people who are in pain because of the one event. And I felt like there was no judgment placed on any of the characters. there was no judgment placed on the way that they decided to process and handle their grief. It
I
was
think it was a
just,
struggle for
mm-hmm,
Jason, certainly that character,
mm-hmm,
and Gail too, to please put aside the desire to blame.
mm-hmm,
Um, but they want to know things, and of course they do,
mm-hmm.
because
Of
you know what
course.
Fran said. Fran studied the Truth and Reconciliation Project in college. He does,
Yeah.
and he was afraid he could never be that person at the table
Mm-hmm,
who could sit down and forgive. And
mm-hmm.
he carried that, over the years after school. And then he heard a mother who had lost her child in a terrible shooting at a school. And he had a little girl then. She's grown up to age, I think, maybe 5 or 6 now, but she was very tiny then. And he had to pull over for the weeping. And that's when he began. And so his quest, if you will, to know, is he that person who could go to the table?
Mm-hmm.
And then also to be able to experience as a parent, what if? I don't know where that thought's going. But anyway.
No, but I think that is, for me, the film does asks those questions. It doesn't necessarily have to answer them, right? It doesn't tell you how you're supposed to feel. It just shows you these 4 people. There are 4 different ways of handling this, and makes no judgment on them. And I think that is an extraordinarily difficult thing to do with the subject matter. And Fran and you 4 did so beautifully. Okay, I have one more question, then I'm going to let you go, Anne. I'm sure you have other
Thank
things
you,
to
Angel.
do.
Thank
I
you.
just want, I was just curious about backstory, and if you you and Reed, as a couple, had spoken to Martha and Jason as a couple, and had you guys shared each other's backstories? Had you come up with it together, or did you not talk about it? I'm just curious about what that was
Okay, this
like.
is this I can answer really clearly.
Okay, great.
Reed and I never spoke of it because we never had the need.
Really?
Not a word. And we both came to that without talking about, should we just both knew the text was
Yeah.
so specific and perfect and subtle. Now,
Yeah.
Martha and Jason talked a ton about their relationship.
Huh.
They had to, because it's still alive and present. And
Yeah.
they argued about it a lot, which was brilliant. That's where the couple is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, 2 very strong personalities and opinions, and very, very fine actors. So yes, there was a tremendous amount of discussion
Wow.
between those 2. But Fran and I Reed and I were like, I think we're good.
Yeah. That makes so much sense because of who you and Reed are, how knowing you both, and also just makes so much sense for all 4 characters. I love that. Oh, good. I'm glad I asked that. And
Yeah, that's a
I'm
very good
not,
question, you Fresh.
thank you. I came up with it all by myself.
Like most things, my dearest, that you do. Yes.
Thank you. And thank you for doing this. It's been such a pleasure talking to you
Oh,
about this.
thank you, honey, for taking the time. I laughed yesterday in the text because I thought we could go back and forth for some time. You are the, and then we laughed. What was that? We laughed that time. It's like, oh God, let's get over ourselves fast,
Remember,
shall we?
it just got so disgusting. It was just like,
I know
oh,
we
I love
can't.
you. No, you're the best. No,
I
you're the
know. How
best. It
did
was
I
like,
get so lucky?
it
Like, oh
was
my God.
gross. And in the end, in the end, it was just like, oh, go away. I just don't even want to talk to you anymore. Just
I
stop
don't see
it.
you anytime soon. No, no, I'm kidding. We didn't.
I'll see you soon. I
I
can't
love
wait.
you. I'm so
I
grateful
love
for you.
you.